Hey, and welcome back to the Deliberate Exchange. My name is Chelsea, and I'm so glad that you are here listening. Today's episode is about consistency versus integrity, because I've been having a lot of conversations lately, like with my friends, with Kevin, in my day-to-day life, and I've noticed something that I don't think that we talk a lot about, but it's the moment when something you used to feel really certain about doesn't feel so black and white anymore. And instead of that feeling like growth, it actually feels really uncomfortable, like you're losing your footing. And I think that for a long time, I've been very clear about what I believed in, what I stood for, how I moved through things. And of course, there's a part of me that really values that. Clarity feels good, certainty feels good. It gives you something to stand on. But I think that a lot of that clarity is also really rigid, especially in the beginning parts. Like it was either I'm doing this right or I'm doing it wrong. I'm in or I'm out. This works or it doesn't. And there was never a lot of space in between. And I think that that shows up in more areas of my life than I even realized at the time. Like it showed up in my drinking for sure. It was like I was either being good or I was completely off the rails. And there wasn't any sense of a grounded middle part. And then it showed up in work. Like I wasn't performing at a certain level if I wasn't on top of everything. And there was this underlying feeling of you're already falling behind, even when nothing was actually wrong. And even in relationships, like I can think of so many moments where something small would happen, like there's a shift in someone's tone or a text that took too long to respond to, or something that felt off, and my system automatically would go to something is wrong. And I'd either clamp down and spiral a bit, like no middle ground. And I didn't think of it at the time as a lack of nuance. I thought of it as discipline, as standards of knowing who I was and standing firmly on that hill. But really, it was giving me a sense of control. It was something that I could hold on to. It was because, like, when things are black and white, you don't have to sit in the discomfort of not knowing, which is really convenient. And lately, I've been noticing that starting to shift. Like, I can actively be in a conversation, and instead of immediately landing on this is right or this is wrong, I find that there's a lot more space. And probably that has a lot to do with where my nervous system is at, how I think critically, etc. But I'm able to be like, okay, I see that, and I also see this. And instead of that feeling grounded, it feels disorienting at first. Because when you have built an identity around being clear, about being someone who knows, there is a subtle pressure to stay that way. And I think this is the part that's been hitting me the most, because people don't just expect integrity from me, they expect consistency. Even when consistency means staying the same longer than is actually true. And if I really, really slow that down, there is a part of me that feels that. There's like this quiet pull to stay aligned with what I've said before, keep things clear, don't contradict myself. And if I'm being perfectly honest, this is not just about integrity. Of course, it's never just about the thing. This is also a nervous system thing. There's a part of me that learned somewhere along the way that it is safer to be liked, to be agreed with, to be understood easily, than it is to risk being misunderstood. And it shows up in really subtle ways. Like when I soften something I actually feel really strongly about, or I over-explain, or I stay quiet until I say something perfectly. Or there's the opposite swing, like where you double down on something just so that you don't have to sit in the discomfort of evolving in front of people. And I've seen this play out in my life before, where I was like really, really certain about something. I spoke about it. And then as I learned more, I saw more. And there was this moment of like, oh, okay, like I don't see this in the same way anymore. And that's not comfortable, because people have already placed you somewhere. They've already decided this is who she is. And now you're moving, and not everyone moves with you. And I think that for a long time, I equated integrity with consistency. Like if I was a person of integrity, my stance shouldn't change. I should be solid in that. What I'm seeing, though, is that this isn't actually integrity. Integrity is responsiveness. It's being willing to take in new information, to see more, feel more, and to adjust accordingly, even when that is messy. It doesn't mean that you're abandoning what you believe, but you are building on top of it. And this is showing up for me in really real ways right now, in terms of how I think of sobriety. And you don't have to interpret that as I'm starting to drink again. It's showing up in my relationship with cannabis. It's showing up in conversations that have a lot of charge to them, especially in our current political and world context. And I can feel the part of me that wants to make it clean, to land somewhere definitive, to say, this is it, but I'm not there. And so instead of forcing myself to be there, I'm letting myself stay in the process, which honestly takes way more capacity than just picking a side, because now I actually have to stay with myself. I have to feel what's coming up. I have to notice where I'm reacting from, notice where I'm trying to stay safe, and then go from there. And that's really the work that I do, is helping women build the capacity to stay with themselves so that they're not defaulting to patterns or rules or coping mechanisms just to feel some sense of control. Because it's not about removing everything external. Like that's hard to do these days. It's about not needing it to feel okay. So if you are in a season where things don't feel as black and white as they used to, where you are maybe questioning things that you once felt like super sure about, if you're in a place where you can see multiple sides and that feels uncomfortable, you're not doing something wrong. You're actually expanding your capacity. And that does not mean that you have lost any integrity. It probably means you're starting to practice it in a deeper way. And I think that's a conversation we need to have more openly, because what I see and what I saw in myself absolutely is people stay stuck not because they don't know more, but because they don't feel safe to be seen knowing more, to change how they've been operating, especially when you look at their social groups or familial dynamics. And that is actually where the shift happens. So that has been on my mind. If this has landed for you, if you are thinking about things in yourself or in the world realm, if this has landed for you, this is exactly the kind of work that we do inside the deliberate practice. It's not about giving you more rules. It is about helping you build the capacity to actually stay with yourself in real time so that you can make decisions from that place. And I got to tell you, like, that feels like when I'm operating out of that place, it feels incredibly grounded. I feel incredibly resourced, and I can usually let the noise fall by the wayside. So I will link that below. And in the next episode, I'll go into things a bit deeper through a more specific lens. We'll talk about cannabis. We'll talk about sobriety, what that actually means. And that's where this gets to be really real. And so in the meantime, breathe it in, be deliberate, and please be good to yourself.